Oh, hold on. Actually, we are on to the British.
Britbongs,
Yeah,
the
we've got the.
codfish, the Okay, what are some lovely borderline slurs that we can throw out?
I don't know. I think Americans used to call British people limeys.
Limey. Well, no, that's just sailors. That was
Is it?
British
Ah,
sailors to be
okay.
specific. Yeah. Because
Bad teeth people.
no. I'm trying to think. It's like bottle of water.
Yeah.
Bottles. That's what you could call. Well, no, I just remembered another thing. It's the most weird thing to me is like, why is it that in so many words British people pronounce the D as a J? Like, why do you say June? Like, how do you distinguish between June like a sand dune and June like the month June?
But how do you pronounce it then?
America, we say dune.
Do oh, that's weird.
Dog. Dune like dog.
Well, it's when I think it's when the D is before a vowel in the first, like in the first.
That's when you pronounce it like a J.
Yeah, I think so. Well, actually, no, that's not true
Ugh.
because you have something like dentist, don't you? So I just,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe it's just D and U
Uh,
that you pronounce it
no,
as a
it's
J.
just,
I don't know.
no, it's just bizarre that you British people are always like June, and I'm like, no, it's Dune, Dune in your throat, Dune. Also, it's an American book, so you
Yeah.
really should be pronouncing it. Yeah.
So it's. I'll say them out and see if there's any difference between them. So this is the month, June, and this is the other word, June. No, they don't really sound any different.
Oh, I was thinking. I've heard some British people enunciate like Dune, like the novel, as June,
Yeah.
sort of put an E in there, whereas like June is just, oh, that's June.
Mm.
But they'll not, they'll almost say it like Jun, like they'll almost like they'll combine like the long U into the short U and like Jun.
Yeah, yeah. It varies
Yeah,
across the UK with that kind of pronunciation.
yeah. Okay, so no, that was a lovely bit of malarkey, but lovely bit of rank punditry. But I
Mhm.
suppose we ought to get on to the Britbongers,
The
the
next,
codfish,
the next character.
yeah. Oh dear, who is this
Do
character?
you not know who this is?
I recognize him, and yet I don't. Who is this?
It's Nigel Farage.
Oh, Nigel. Nigel. Yeah, no.
How much do you know of Nigel Farage?
I know more about Nigel Thornberry, to be frank. You ever
Mm.
watch that show as a kid, The Wild Thornberries?
I don't know. I didn't. Was that an American show?
May have been. It was on Nickelodeon in the U.S., so I don't know if you ever
Oh
had it in the
no, we never
U.K.
had Nickelodeon.
No, because Nickelodeon was like the United States and Canada.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
yeah.
I'm sure many people would have watched
I
that
there
I
were
know,
other there
but
were other Nickelodeon shows that ended up in the UK though. Like you guys have SpongeBob, don't you?
yeah, that's
What channel was that on?
I honestly can't tell you. Probably maybe C.
Okay.
There was CITV. There might have been it.
Yeah.
'Cause they had lots of.
Anyway, but not yeah. Now the Wild Thornberries is a show that I think you might like because well, I liked it.
Yeah.
It's a show about like a family that were like nature like they were like like nature explorers essentially. Like they'd go around like making nature documentaries. So like Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
The dad was a man called Nigel Thornberry, and he was just like this very memeish British man, and the wife was American. She was like sort of a just sort of like you stereotypical like American outdoorsy girl, always wearing like shorts and things,
Yeah.
with a scarf over her head, with,
Mhm.
like one of those little triangle scarves on her
Mm.
head, to keep the hair out of the way. Um, And there were two daughters, and the one daughter was very cityfied and just hated being out on adventures all the time. She was the sort of annoying teenager.
The city slicker.
There's like the younger daughter. Yeah. And there's the younger daughter that actually could like talk to animals because she had some weird encounter with an African what was it? Like some African tribal shaman gave her the ability to speak to animals for some reason.
Yeah.
And her talking to animals would be the thing that like solves the conflict of every episode. And there was a Wild Thornberries movie where she lost her ability to speak to animals, and the conflict of the movie was her trying to get it back.
It does sound quite wholesome.
Yes. A very lovely show. Definitely one of those things I want to show to my kids when I eventually become a dad. Okay, so Nigel Farage. I don't know a huge amount about him. I want to say that he's a boomer because I don't really think that he doesn't seem like a completely useless Tory. Well, because he's not a Tory, is he? He started his own party like 3 different times.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem completely useless in the way that the Tories do.
Yeah.
He just seems like he's a legitimate outsider who's going to be making some real change and all that. Just not as much as I would like.
Yeah. I think I would put him as more of a gatekeeper as well than Trump, because which is why I put him on this list actually, because he does often
lets his ego get ahead of him in a way that Trump ironically doesn't.
Yeah, well, he often voices about how successful he was in stopping the far right in his party, and that sort of thing, because he also he's a bit of a gatekeeper in a way Trump isn't, which kind of stifles his own movement in a way.
As long as a person isn't like a fully fledged basically as long as a person isn't insane, as long as a person isn't like an actual Ku Klux Klan member, Donald Trump doesn't really care. Oh, because the extent of Donald Trump's progressive principles is basically just that he's not racist. It's like, at least as far as I'm aware, that's like the only like progressive, and I say progressive, it's like it's like that's just like the most normal thing. Yeah. As if progressives aren't racist themselves, it's just like I think that's maybe everything, and that, of course, that was a very long tangent, virtually none of it to do with Farage. Yes, but I suppose that just goes to show how unremarkable he is, like the vast majority of British politicians.
Yeah, he's I don't know how much genuine change can be achieved through him. Yes, granted, he did bring through Brexit.
You know what? I just thought of. Yes. But I just thought, it'd be a brilliant shit test for to see if a British politician is just an absolute lowest bar possible. Gun rights.
Yeah.
Gun rights, I was gonna say. So that you are not truly right wing if you do not desire to arm the people, or maybe not gun rights, but at the very least just legalize self-defense. If somebody tries to stab me in the middle of London, have the right to beat him with my walking stick, Yeah.
And to be fair to Farage, he does want to legalise pistols in the UK, so he has said something about that, but it's really,
tacitly right-wing opinion.
It's really milquetoast.
Okay, Farage, you're like, I mean, he passed the absolute lowest bar. Okay, so which I guess gives him the privilege of being, if we ever achieve our goals, he would be probably the. We'd probably just be in a village council or something.
Yeah.
Have power, but it would be of virtually no consequence.
Mm. Well, it's like it's like what Khrushchev used to do. He didn't used to shoot people, send them to the gulags. He just like opponents. He just promoted them or demoted them to like minister of fisheries or something like something really inconsequential. Running of a plant in Mongolia or something.
Yes. Sort of like when they they didn't execute Napoleon. They didn't even put him in prison. Just made him the emperor of Saint Helena.
Yeah. Which is more humiliating, really.
I mean, yeah, but to be fair, like he governed really well.
I don't even know how long it was for, to be honest.
It was until his death, and he was like middle-aged by then, had gout, so like 10, 20 years.
Well, do you want to move on?
Okay, so let's move on. Moving along, get on with it. You know, I feel like we need to have the old "get on with it" clip from Monty Python whenever. The infamous blonde mop.
Any thoughts?
It's just a wet paper bag, really.
Yeah, well, speaking of gun rights, I
feel like... Yeah.
He did a lot. He's also gone the same road of restricting firearms ownership, even more if that's even possible in the UK.
Insufferable. My goodness, like the UK, you guys are so bad. Like the Germans look libertarian compared to you with regard to gun rights. You know, like the Germans are like, oh yes, you need a license, but license gives you privileges to own like 7 guns, and you can use them for self-defense.
Yeah, whereas
it's not So it's not
Johnson...
like not in the city. No, that's what police are for. But no, like if you're a farmer out in the country and somebody tries to steal a cow, you have the right to defend your property. That's probably a vast oversimplification. There's probably some German person who can say, "Oh, it's not as good as that. You see, it actually is. This is what the law is like." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's not. Yes, it's not very good, but it's better than the UK at least."
Yeah.
That reminds me, Jörg Sprave, probably the most masculine German accent I've ever heard. Yes, no, I don't know. It's just I don't know that we have much to say about Bojo. He's just an insufferably wet story.
Yeah, and pushed
Minion maybe?
Yeah, I would say Minion because he has he's presided over some of the most radical change that we've seen over the last since he was in power.
But not like an not like an AOC type minion though. I don't think that he actually believes in progressivism. I think he's just going along to get along. I think that he just wants to stay out of trouble, keep his head down.
He's a very good public face for some of the things that are going on. Like,
yes.
Hiding some of it.
Empty suit. That's the right word. He's an empty suit.
Yes. So, I think we'll move on to the next person, shall we?
Yes. The Dark Lord.
This is his golden, or his famous mullets. He's been compared to Gollum in this.
Yes. Like, have you ever heard the story of Darth Stalin?
Yeah.
Not a tale that the liberals would want to tell you. I say that, but you know, yes. I mean, to be, I say that, but you know, ironically enough, was the fellow who sort of moderated the Labour Party in the UK and brought them away from socialism into sort of mainstream liberalism.
Yeah.
No, so
Is
there any like? I'm trying to think. What is like the?
Well, I would personally say he is a subverter because through some of the things he's done, and it's
absolute subverter. a subverter, but maybe with a proviso. I'm not sure that he has a higher goal. I feel like there is some higher goal. There is some desire to just subvert the whole country for his own gain. So like, there's some element of grift like that. But I feel like there's also an element of like cynicism to where like, I feel like he could definitely say and do some right-wing things if it was expedient and mainstream.
Yeah.
But it would never be like, he would never go all in for it.
He's definitely not a minion as well, because he is very good at kind of hiding he does talk a lot about being anti-woke and that sort of thing.
Yes, so, which again would go in line with him being a liberal and not a leftist.
Yeah. It's the whole story of him opposing the radicalism of the Labour Party kind of ties in well with that.
Yes, which again would explain why he is such good friends with Bush, because Bush is basically his right-wing equivalent. Someone who reins in the more radical elements and you know, therefore putting a stop to real change.
Yeah. It's just the change he brought through was kind of he made lots of reforms to the UK constitution, but it was done in a way that encountered little kind of public opposition. It wasn't like
I think it's pretty fair to say that he's a basic neoliberal progressive.
Yeah.
Though I also want to say there is something about him that is I feel like his vision of the UK is do you think that he wants to completely de-anglicize the UK, or do you think that his vision of the UK and his ideal vision of the UK something almost like Donald Trump's ideal vision of America, where it's like what would be the shallow, like just tea and fish and chips or something? What is the shallow, like biscuit tin nationalism for the UK?
It would be something like that, where it's kind of waving the Union Jack, praising the Queen, that sort of thing. That's the Fresh Prince.
Yeah, and eating your, you know. And I feel return to that. But I feel like Blair's the sort of cynical return to Fresh Prince, where you know, like he wants Fresh Prince for his own power, whereas Donald Trump, I feel, is the slightly boomerish, authentic appeal to Fresh Prince. Like, you know, like he actually wants to do it because he thinks it would uplift the country as a whole, not necessarily for a terribly selfish reason.
So would we say he's like a mixture between grifter and subverter then? More subverter, but...
Yes, he's self-interested, but it's not purely money. I think that he also views money as a means to an ends. His ends are just a bit evil. Do
you want to move on to the next figures?
Yes.
You probably wouldn't have much to say about these people, but I'll still be interested in your thoughts anyway. So
it might be someone with, it might be someone of some international prominence, like Dawkins.
No, not quite. Do you know who these people are?
Look like they'd make for a lovely couple. That one guy actually looks a lot like my dad. We were just joking earlier about how, like, some people, it's like, oh, in America they wouldn't be considered white. This fellow, ironically, could in some parts of the United States.
Be considered white?
A lot of people would he would not necessarily considered, but he could pass if he, like, acted like it, you know?
Yeah.
Because you do get, like, white people in America. You know what? No. If he had lighter brown hair, he could pass for white. Because in America, you do get, like, a lot of people that are, you know, like, they're a little bit Italian or something, so they can tan up really dark, even though they're not. No. America, he'd probably just be mistaken for a Mexican or some other, like, darker Latino mestizo person.
Well, do you want to guess the nationality of this person?
I believe, I forget his name, but the guy who lost the Tory thing, didn't he?
I haven't even checked the results, so he probably has lost it.
I believe that he's Indian.
Yeah.
there's a lot of Indians in the Tories, so
There
I
is.
just assume what's it like if it's a brown person in the UK, if they're a Tory, they're Indian. If they're if they belong to the Labour, they're probably Labour Party. They're probably Pakistani. You have something similar with Semitic people, where like the Semitic people in the Tory party are all Jews, and Semitic people in the Labour Party are all Arabs.
Yeah.
Again, that's just one of those things that is like terribly ironic. You know, it's like, dagnabbit, if I was in charge of the right wing in the UK, it's like Muslims would be on the side. You know, it's like they would not be a tool of the progs; they would be a tool of us.
It's funny how many why Muslims vote so predominantly for Labour when you think they'd be kind of polar opposites.
Well, you know, like they're like, yeah, well, because like the Muslim dads protesting the curriculum at the British schools, do they not realize the Labour politicians, the one who put that in?
They probably, I mean, as we've said before, we probably doubt their faith, like the piety of some of these Muslims as well, who like turn up on the census.
Yeah, I feel like that
like
may be true. Really. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I suppose you know what I feel like. That's the thing. You know, it's like the UK. Want to be too harsh, but I feel like there's an overwhelming aura of evil that, well, I guess it's not just the UK, it's Europe as a whole, really. Where like it's become like a demographic and cultural black hole. Because you've got no religion there. The people who are religious that move there lose their religion, children, and the people who have a lot of children that move there stop having children. It's like an all-consuming beast of neoliberalism.
Yeah, where it's the effects of decades of subversion.
Yeah, like Europeans always talk about like, oh, all this progressivism, it's imported from America. America doesn't like suffer from it nearly as badly. That's just,
Well, I would say these two people.
And then there's this woman who, like, I think she cheated on her husband or something, and I suspect she's the person who won and will be the next prime minister.
I just looked it up. She has won the election, which is quite funny. You found out earlier than me. I really don't care. Because if it's...
I don't even care. I heard it in passing when I was watching the Lotus Eaters podcast today. That's the only reason why I know that Sunak, is that his name?
Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss.
Rishi Sunak, yeah. Rishi. That is like an Indian name, but it doesn't have to be. That could be a short like a nickname for Richard or something.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I would say Rishi is a minion, and I'd say Liz is probably a mixture of minion and boomer.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of the speeches and that sort of thing you've seen from Liz Truss.
They're Tories. They're all minions. I feel like anyone who holds political power like basically everyone in the UK who holds political power can be classified as either a minion or a like, you don't even have boomers. You don't even have anyone that believes in it. It's all like minions, grifters, and verters.
Yeah, I mean, even Boris Johnson has boomerish qualities about him. Like with his comments about like Muslims, like burqas being letterboxes or something.
Okay, so it's moving on from these two empty suits. What's the next Brit bonger you got for us?
That's a good classification. Empty suit, I'd say. Yeah, so next character. Do you know who this person is?
I've seen this person before. What is his name? I've forgotten, but I know of him.
academic agent used to make lots of videos about him because he despised him so much. Sadiq Khan.
Ah, notorious. You know, I once made a meme. Have you ever seen those memes where it's the what's that? The monster from. It's one of the Godzilla monsters. It's the dragon with 3 heads.
Oh yeah. I know the person you mean.
You know, there's like there's the 2 like scary heads and the 1 derpy head. I did one once where it was Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, and the derpy head was Sadiq Khan. Okay.
So do you know anything about the antics he's been up to?
I just know that he's just like a terrible mayor. It's all so tiresome.
He's been responsible for like the total collapse of policing.
Microphone sounds funny. You might want to take care of it. Your mic is weird.
Oh.
Yes.
What does it sound
And very echoey. It's like you're in a big empty room. Yes, that's a bit better. Like you're saying, it's like Sadiq Khan ruined policing or something.
Well, he's presided over the kind of rapid increase of like knife crime and all the other crimes that are going on in London. He's obviously been a relentless promoter of progressivism, but I don't think he's like I would say leaning towards grifter.
Yeah, he's not an empty suit. There's a little something there, and it's not evil, but it's also certainly not benevolent. Just something a bit selfish. Maybe a banal form of evil. Like he's just there for just a job and maybe ego. I don't know. Is there? It's almost hard to. I feel like if he was purely greedy, he almost would have done a better job. What do you think is the reason for what he does? Do you think there's maybe some minionishness about him where he kind of believes what he's doing?
Yeah, I would say there is an element of that. I wouldn't call him a subverter because I don't think he has to make Okay, back in a second. Is that alright? So what were we talking about before we
we were talking about Sadiq Khan, and we were trying to categorize him as like, I feel like, as you're saying, it's like, well, maybe he's just a grifter, but I feel like if he was purely in it for money or something, he would have been less destructive.
He would have been more like a Pelosi, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I feel like there's maybe... He'd also just be wealthier if he was in it for the money. So I feel like maybe there's an element of minionishness about him.
Yeah.
To where he's being like manipulated by people above him, and maybe he actually believes in the agenda to a certain degree.
Yeah, so probably a mixture of minion and what was the other one?
Grifter.
Yeah.
Maybe subverter, because it does occur to me, it's like, you know,
he's not that powerful enough to do too much, though. So
he was the mayor of London for a long time.
Yeah, but it's kind of how much power he actually has, I don't know.
I mean, how many millions of people, what % of the UK population lives in London?
I'm not sure, so there's about... Is there about 9 million or something? So it's got to be about more than 10% at least.
Yeah. Oh, which basically puts him on, like, you know, makes him more powerful. Like, what's it? the scale of things in the UK, he is basically more powerful than a lot of governors in the United States.
Mm. The only thing is that I don't know how much. Oh yeah, London population of just over 9 million. The only thing is that I don't know how much. Like, is he much of a Biden figure, or is he? Does he actually exercise any any control over the things he does?
I don't know. I feel like he's just a malevolent. He's just a malevolent variation on the empty suit.
Yeah.
Although you know what, it did just occur to me. AA used to, like you said, he made a million videos that were like hyper angry against him. Maybe it's a little bit more malevolent, a little bit less empty suit. Like a sort of weaselishness about.
Minion.
Yeah. I feel it's best to just go with minion.
Okay.
And
do you want to
maybe
move on?
subverter, not grifter.
Yeah.
He's not wealthy enough to be a grifter.
Would you like to move on to the next character?
Yes, hopefully someone that I'm more familiar with.
Do you know this man?
I think I've seen him once before.
Christopher Hitchens.
Hitchens! He's one of the notorious new atheists, isn't he?
He is.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's absolutely, just absolute boomer.
Yep, I would agree.
I think he actually wants to make the world a better place. He's just completely unaware of what would be necessary to do that.
Yeah.
Thus accidentally ruins things. So is that a flag of India pin that he is wearing?
Oh yeah, I just noticed that. I don't know.
No, the looks like a horizontal Irish flag with a blue spinning wheel in the middle. So, I'm going to assume that is India.
Maybe there was like some event and he was like something happened in India at that time and he like did that to show respect.
Or maybe he was speaking in India.
Yeah.
Because you do see that occasionally, with like not so much with like world leaders like a Donald Trump, of course, because Donald Trump has to be America. But you do see that with more like intellectual types, like professors and things.
Yeah. Well, this man was kind of. He didn't really. I guess he didn't really foresee the consequences of some of the things he was. Of his ardent campaign against Christianity.
Yeah. So I would say I feel like, could we have ever expected him to do anything different? Because I feel like at a certain point, our sort of broadly supernatural view is correct, and that's what motivates us to do a lot of what we believe in. And I almost feel like you can't be like a real. You can be a decent person without being religious, but I feel like you maybe can't be really meaningfully conservative without being religious.
Yeah. Because if you're anti-religious and conservative, you're heading more towards like the Nazism or fascism, I should say.
If you're taking your opinions to their logical conclusions, I would say yes.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's not, possibly because he's a bit of a moral coward, or possibly just because his conscience prevents him from doing it. I've never spoken to him, so I can't really determine which of those two things it is.
Yeah, well, he and his brother had a very sort of communist phase during university, so I don't know how much that affected him and kind of stamped that idea.
I think that it certainly probably where he got his anti-religiousness, because he's like, oh, it's the opiate of the masses. It prevents us from making real change.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Whereas a person like you and me would say, no, opium is the opiate of the masses, and Religion is the thing that stops people from doing opium because it tells them that it's immoral.
Yeah.
That sobriety is a virtue.
So, are we done? I guess just boomer.
Just absolute boomer, just pinnacle boomer.
Yeah.
Eli, is he the only person that we've said is the epitome of boomerism? Was there somebody else?
I don't. Well, there's Bill. Bill. How do you pronounce his name? His surname.
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. Yeah.
No, you're right. Bill Maher is also like the epitome of boomerism. We just have the American boomer here and the British boomer there. There was Pelosi. She was the epitome of grifter. There was Biden. He was the epitome of a minion. And there was.
We have Bill as
I
well.
feel like we've got like. Bill, what?
We had like Bill Gates as well, like subverter.
Bill Gates, yes. Absolute pinnacle subverter. And then there was Elon Musk. It's just like, don't even know how to, like, maybe a bit boomerish because he's done some things we disagree with, but for reasons that we would agree with. So
Yeah.
like, he's got a good heart. He's just not perfect. Just a normal human being.
Yeah.
Like let he who has not cast a boomerism or whatnot, he who has not committed a boomerism cast the first stone. There any among us who have never been cringe?
Probably not.
Yes, I suppose that's everything.
So let's go through. We have the final category, or kind of grouping, is the European one. So I've used the generic EU flag.
Hold on. Yeah, sorry, my dad needs me to do something, and it's also past lunchtime, so I feel we have to make this a part 2.
Yeah, we can come back to it another time. It's fine. Very good timing.
It's very good timing and a very nice time chatting with you.
Yes. Enjoy whatever you're doing, and I'll see you when I see you.
Later.
Subscribe to his channel.
Yeah, I don't know. We could just take the intro from the last thing, and maybe you could make a proper one. I don't know. Maybe you could use one of the funny AI robot voices.
Okay. Bye.